Hi, my name is Kim Chen, and I am the Assistant National Director of the Up2Us Sports VISTA program. I'm coming to you from my home in New York City. I am a white woman with long, brownish blonde hair, and today it is up in a ponytail. I am also wearing my red Up2Us Sports t-shirt. I would love to welcome you to the fourth episode of VISTA Table Talks. This month, we are focusing our conversation on adaptive and inclusive sports. Joining this conversation are VISTAs from Keene, San Francisco, Angel City Sports, and Three River Rowing. Leading the conversation today is Julia Ray, a program director at Move United, an organization who uses the power of sport to push what's possible for people with disabilities, confronting ignorance, fueling conversation, and inciting action that leads us to a world where everyone's included. She has a very long history advocating and working in the adaptive and inclusive sports space. Julia, I am very excited for this conversation today and to hear from everyone who is joining the Table Talk. Feel free to take it away.
Thanks, Kim. I'm really thrilled to be here today. Excited to talk to the VISTAs and get to hear a little bit more about what exciting things you've all been doing. As I was introduced, my name is Julia Ray. I am the Programs Director for Move United. I've been with the organization for almost 20 years, and we were founded by disabled veterans to serve disabled veterans more than 50 years ago now. Now we've grown to a 200-member organization strong organization out of the Washington, D.C. area, and we serve around 100,000 people annually. Today, I am coming to you from our virtual Move United offices. So you can see a logo in the background. We have a very new multicolored pink, red, and blue logo. We had a name change in the last couple of years. We merged between Disabled Sports USA and Adaptive Sports USA to become Move United. I'm wearing a red floral shirt, and I am white in my mid-40s with my hair up and some gold hoop earrings. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce the VISTAs to you. And Sabrina, let's start with you and tell us a little bit about yourself, if you wouldn't mind.
Perfect, thank you. Hello, and I'm really happy to be here today. My name is Sabrina. I am an AmeriCorps VISTA at Keene, San Francisco, short for Kids Enjoy Exercise Now. I'm here today in my home office, and I have long black wavy hair. I wear clear glasses, and I have on my Keene purple shirt. Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction.
Thanks, Sabrina. And tell us a little bit about Keene.
Sure, yeah. So Kids Enjoy Exercise Now is a national nonprofit, and we provide free recreational services to youth with disabilities. And one of the things that's super important is that we're empowering and getting all those athletes to get out there and do what they do.
Awesome. Great. Nice to meet you. Eric, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Eric Baker. I'm an AmeriCorps VISTA at Angel City Sports. I am recording this today from my bedroom, as you can see from my lovely closet full of my dress shirts behind me. I am a white male in my late 20s with shorter-ish dark hair and a white polo shirt on. Angel City Sports is a super fun organization where we supply coaches, clinics, and equipment to athletes with disabilities from the Southern California area. And we serve adults and children, and we offer about between 10 and 15 different sports.
Wonderful. Brittany?
Hi, so thank you for having me. My name is Brittany Bell. I'm an AmeriCorps VISTA at Three Rivers Rowing in Pittsburgh, PA. Today, I have curly brown hair. It goes down just past my shoulders, and I'm wearing a black top with a jean jacket. I am at home today, so I just have a plain white wall behind me. Three Rivers is a rowing and paddling organization. We aim to develop and provide safe and sustainable rowing and paddling programs for members in the Pittsburgh community. Our members can be as young as 4th grade, and our oldest active members are in their 80s. We do have an adaptive rowing program, and I'm very happy to be on this panel today and speak a little bit more about that. So thanks again for having me.
Thanks. It's great to meet you all. And I know being a VISTA is somewhat about capacity building at your respective organizations. Has anybody been involved with a project that they've been super excited about that they'd love to share?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Eric, go ahead.
Oh, sure. So I didn't mean to step on your toes.
No.
Yeah, so my project is developing manuals to help volunteers, athletes, and coaches who are new to adaptive sports learn more about adaptive sports, how to train adaptive athletes, how to work with people with disabilities. And that's been really exciting for me, both coming from someone with a sports psychology background. There's a lot of sports psychology in there, and I kind of nerd out a lot about it. And as an athlete with a disability myself, and as a coach for athletes with disabilities, it's been a wonderful reflecting experience that is really fun.
No, that sounds really exciting. What are you going to do with the manual? Who's it going to be sent out to?
Yeah. So it's 3 different manuals. So depending how the person is going to like what their role is, whether it's the Angel City Games, all of our volunteers will receive the volunteer manual ahead of time, so they're way more knowledgeable about the sports they're volunteering with before they get there. And then anyone looking to start a club, a chapter, an organization can reach out and get the coach's manual. And then, of course, any athletes we run into, we're just going to be shelling out the athlete manual to hopefully get people more knowledgeable, more informed. And as we're going forward, hopefully, we're going to turn each different manual into an actual like curriculum, especially the coach's manual. So get all the new coaches together, go over video, have experienced coaches come in and talk and help everyone network and just kind of grow everything going forward.
Wow, Eric, I'd love to see more about that. That sounds really exciting. It sounds like we're going to have to continue this conversation and work with you going forward. It's great. And Sabrina, you had something you wanted to share as well?
Yeah, something similar. And Eric, you gave me a lot of good ideas. I think, you know, I am working on trying to give some training to volunteer coaches that are coming in and, you know, welcoming them into the community. And a brochure sounds like a really great idea, or kind of just doing slideshows and stuff like that. But I really like that idea, and something similar to what Eric is doing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. And I'd love to kind of dive into or discuss a topic around adaptive sports, kind of where it's been, where it's going, where we are right now, and just kind of some of your observations as you've been in your respective roles. Particularly, you know, when I came to the States almost 20 years ago, we were in a very different place, right? As we were a much smaller network at that time, and adaptive sports was very focused just in the club spaces. And we've noticed a lot more interest and appetite for learning more about inclusive sports, which is where all these great tools and manuals are going to be, and trainings are going to become really important, right? But what from your own observations have you seen at in your role? And let's start with Eric. I think as a coach and athlete with a disability yourself, you have a really great perspective to share, and you've also got a lot of experience in the past. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about how you got involved and what you thought was helpful in that process, and what your observations have been, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, me getting involved with adaptive sports, it feels like forever ago. Yeah, I got involved almost immediately right after I got hurt in high school, and just happened to have really good therapists and really knowledgeable therapists that just knew I got hurt playing sports and was like, "You're an athlete," and then sent me down the path to learning more about it, adaptive athletics. And that was super fortunate. Which I later learned was pretty rare. Mm-hmm. But like as I've gone through my athletic career and into coaching, it seems I've noticed that more organizations and more mainstream organizations are reaching out and being inclusive. In particular, because I coach wheelchair track, in the past 2 years, the CIF, the California Interscholastic Sports Federation, they have point scoring events now for the state championship. So things like that, it helps coaches want to seek out these athletes and want to provide these opportunities for these athletes, and it's making these events like less club orientated, like it has been in the past, where it was the athlete was an athlete and then they come to school and there's completely separate worlds and they wouldn't know about each other. And now they're kind of merging in together to where you'll see like there's athletes with disabilities in high school with Letterman's jackets and varsity patches and things like that, which I think is really great, and it's just going to build from the foundation up as these athletes grow into the future.
What do you see as the primary driver of that, like the change? I know there were some changes within, there was a letter, a civil rights letter that the Department of Education released in 2013 that did heighten the awareness of including kids with disabilities in extracurricular athletics. What though was it that what has changed from your perspective, Eric? You mentioned specifically school sports.
Yeah, it's the main thing is awareness. It's that these things exist, and with awareness comes coaches and administrators, they're less hesitant to pursue it. Because I think in the past, it has always just been like oh, you want to do this? I don't know how to help you. What's going on? And then it just kind of gets pushed to the back burners and not really talked about anymore. But now there's been such a boom and proliferation of information. And people aren't afraid to reach out to, get the knowledge or seek it out online. Has been a massive help. I think that has been the main driver, is the lack of hesitancy of these organizations and these people to provide these opportunities.
Yeah, it's definitely raising the profile of athletes and others, and being a good ally for athletes who want to show what they can do is something that we really paid attention to. I don't know, Sabrina or Brittany, did you have anything to add to what Eric's talking about?
Yeah, I think with awareness, like Eric is mentioning, and also the addition of access to social media is so easy, and you can definitely put your organization's mission out there and post pictures and videos of your athletes doing things. And for people who may not have seen that very often, that's it's a light bulb for them. They can see it happening in live time. So I think the awareness and the social media aspect have kind of come together to bring this forward.
Yeah, I would completely agree with everything that Sabrina and Eric just said. And I think along with that awareness, and like Sabrina said, that social media push comes a drive from organizational levels that are a bit higher up. For example, I know personally in the sport of rowing, US Rowing, which is obviously the highest organizational level in the sport, is making a really big push for DEI initiatives right now. And with that comes a push for adaptive sports. So they're encouraging more clubs and programs around the entire nation to increase or enhance opportunities for adaptive athletes within respective organizations. And I think without the use of social media growing the last 10 years, that push might not be as big as it is right now.
Yeah, and I think it's important as national organizations to keep disability at the forefront of these DEI conversations, as organizations are having them, and making sure that disability is something that is part of the conversation. What has been kind of your observation of what are athletes telling you that you've worked with in your current setting, as far as do they feel the awareness is increasing around inclusion, and it's specifically what role does adaptive sports have to play in that? I don't know if anybody wants to take that on first.
Yeah, as far as the awareness aspect, I haven't received too much feedback from my people in the community, but I do know that it has changed their lives significantly, especially throughout this past year. It's been so hard to keep people connected and to be able to still have access and have fun. And so I've gotten a lot of feedback from parents and athletes as well, just mentioning that they love coming to these sessions. They love seeing their friends, exercising, and kind of being fit and staying to that point. But yeah, I know it's been something that's kept us connected throughout these really weird times.
Yeah, the whole past year with COVID has definitely been tumultuous and has forced us to really rethink how we delivered sports services. I've certainly heard a lot of folks are telling us they're really eager to get back together in person and participate again. I think we all can agree on that. But
yeah,
what will this look like coming out of COVID? How will that shape how we play and recreate going forward?
Yeah, I from my perspective, I think it's going to take well, my organization, we've done a lot of like virtual clinics and events and like workout sessions and things, and it's very much not the same, and which is unfortunate, but a necessary unfortunate situation. But I think it's going to take a big surge or a big event to kind of regather everyone, to get back into the habit of coming back together, looking forward to those friends, like rebuilding those relationships. Because especially in sports in general, but especially adaptive sports, it's the relationships that keep people coming back and wanting to grow programs and grow communities. So I think that is going to be the biggest driver coming out of this, is rebuilding those relationships and reforming those bonds.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking off what you're saying about trying to get people getting back to in person. I think the convenience of just being able to be home and log in into a session, and your parents don't have to take you anywhere, you don't have to jump on the bus. That'll be kind of a struggle. And then just trying to see where people are comfortable with coming back to in person. We would hope everyone can feel comfortable to come back and feel safe, but there's no way to be for sure about it. So the capacity levels and all those things to take into consideration are something that's will be challenging.
Yeah, there's something special, I think, about the adaptive sports community. It is a community. Somebody was talking to me recently about some of and maybe Eric, you can agree or disagree with this, but that after a kind of a injury or a life-changing event, that sometimes takes a lot of confidence to be able to go to a sports setting and try something where you maybe you don't want to look bad or look different, and that the community of adaptive sports provides kind of a safe haven, if you will, or a place that people can come together and try new things and be accommodated and feel like safe as they do that. Did you find that was something that was on your mind, Eric, when you first tried adaptive sports, that you were glad that there was this community, or was it completely different for you?
No, I agree 1,000%. I say it really often that because the first sport I played coming out of my injury was wheelchair rugby, and for those that don't know, wheelchair rugby is a sport exclusively for quadriplegics like myself, and that group of guys were the greatest support group I could have asked for. because like day one, I showed up and they were like, cool, like welcome. And these are guys that have been in a chair for 20 years and they know everything and they're married and all this stuff. And they it's almost like returning to normalcy. If someone that's like an athlete prior, you enter this group of guys or guys and girls, and you're back to being normal. They don't care. The disability aside, it doesn't matter. You're here to play a sport. We're all as a group. So yeah, I completely agree. It's a very unique experience that is as someone that has experienced both, right, able-bodied sports and disabled sports, there's a lot more commonalities between the two, and experiencing that feeling of inclusiveness again is life-changing.
Wow.
For sure. And look at thinking, going back to kind of like future question, because this makes me think about we recently held our education conference. We kind of were having this discussion around adaptive sports and inclusive sports and how they operate and coexist. And of course, both are important in different ways. Having adaptive sports clubs that are uniquely adaptive, as for the reasons that Eric just described, of being part of this community. But of course, we're also trying to train the Ys and the YMCAs and the JCCs and the local community programs to also think inclusively, and having sports where people with and without disabilities might participate alongside one another. So how do we see all of that kind of coexisting in the future? I'm curious as what your experiences have been, or if you have any thoughts on that. I know, Brittany, of course, rowing is a particularly inclusive sport. Everyone pretty much sits to row, and I don't know if anybody has any thoughts.
Yeah, I can get this one started. I think, like you said, rowing is a unique sport. We're all sitting down. In the adaptive realm, there are 3 different types of competition, depending on the disability that the athlete has. So there is opportunities to compete alongside able-bodied athletes as well. And I think that would open a really big opportunity for US rowing if they included some of those events. I know they're going through a big change right now, trying to revamp some of the ways that they title their competition, and they're adding some new types of competition. I think that would really be an interesting area for them to explore.
For sure.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I know that when I was working at the high school, one of the feedback I got from the parents was that she would love to see her child be playing sports with other kids, without disabilities also. So kind of bringing in that inclusivity and how important it was for her to be a part of that, not just something that was specialized. And, of course, those are super important, and depending on where you're at and who you are, those work for you. But I know that some of the feedback was definitely to have that, be together. And I'm all for that for sure.
Yeah, at the high school level, it's such a special experience, and I was lucky enough the 2 years prior to the pandemic to begin to introduce the athletes on my track team into their high school's track teams, and watch that experience and watch the athletes grow and just become just bigger people. And it's such a beautiful experience to watch the understanding deepen in not just the athlete, but the people around them, and like I said before, like the sense of normalcy. Like it's just, and it's another event. It's not something that needs to be separated or segregated or something like that. And and then on top of that, you get the athletes that become really interested in it, and they want to try it out, and they become friends with the kid that races in a wheelchair, and then that kid gets out of his chair at the end of practice. That guy's like, "Can I hop in? Like, I want to give it a go." And that it's really it's fun to see that interplay and the realization, like I said before, that there's the traditional sports community and the adaptive sports community have a lot more in common than they think they do, and there's a lot more that could continue to be done, but like that eyes are starting to open, which is really exciting to see for the future.
Yeah, so I completely agree with everything all of you have said. And what I'm hearing, of course, is we have to amplify both areas. If everybody's an individual, right? So if somebody wants to play in the school team or others want to join the local wheelchair basketball team, this is something we've just got to make sure that we're listening to our community. I take my role very seriously to make sure that I am listening to what people want and try and respond to that and try and be a good ally and a good and trying to lift up opportunity in all of these spaces wherever people are competing and taking part. I think it's a goal in the end that I'll do myself out of a job, and that every community and every sports club and every school has a really great awareness around adaptive sports and disability, and there's the facilities and the equipment needed to include everybody. But we've got some work to do in the meantime. I know we were discussing the other day, Eric, about how expensive adaptive sports equipment is. And I think that's worth like chatting about or sharing a little bit of information, because I'm not sure everybody knows quite what adaptive athletes face as far as the additional expenses to take part.
Yeah, it's definitely an eye-opening experience when like you roll into a new gym, or someone sees you getting on a plane with your sports chair. Of course, like there's the obvious questions like, oh, like what sport's that for or whatever. Then it comes down to like, how much does that cost? And depending on the sport, like the average cost is about $4,000 to $5,000 for a sports wheelchair, and then it just goes up from there. Like the more elite racing chairs can go up to like $15,000 depending on how much carbon fiber and customization you have on them. And that's just to get started. That is not that's like a requirement to really participate in the sport. So just like that barrier of entry is what drives a lot of people from even being able to try a sport. And it's something that a lot of programs like Move United and Angel City that we're trying to ease that burden by loaning out equipment, having equipment reserves. So if someone hits us up, it's like, I want to try this, we're like, great, come pick up a chair, give it a go, let us know what you think. Yeah, it's yeah,
a bit different from a pair of sneakers.
Yeah, or a swimsuit.
Right.
Yeah. And definitely that's the value of the programs you've all been working at, is that ability to go and try something out before you have to invest in that $5,000 chair. So it's definitely a big value to the organizations you're working with. And I don't know if anybody of you want to talk about some of the other cool adaptive equipment that you've seen. I know, Brittany, do you want to tell us a little bit how people row or what the adaptations are to the boat?
Yeah, so in rowing, everybody carries their boat down to the water. So if you have a boat meant for multiple people, then everybody gets hands-on and carries it down to the water together, because they can, as you can imagine, get pretty heavy. With some adaptive athletes, though, we need volunteers to carry the boats down. And so that was one of the biggest problems of the pandemic last year, was either not having volunteers or the athletes not being comfortable being around multiple people. But to keep talking about the equipment, the boats, they can have a fixed seat, or they can have kind of, if you can imagine at a baseball game, how you would have on the stadiums one of those fold up seats that you can carry in. They would have a back, the seat would have a back like that. And then the shells, the boats are a little bit wider than traditional rowing shells to offer more stability. And there's an option to add what they call pontoons, which are almost like little buoys. You can add those to the side of the boat to offer a little more stability as well. So the great thing about adaptive rowing is that that decision is completely up to the athlete, and they can choose to take any of those adaptations with them into competition or practice. So I think that's really neat about adaptive rowing.
Super awesome. Do you have anything to add, Sabrina?
We don't necessarily have equipment, adaptive equipment. Our programs are like dance and, you know, field days or something, but it is something I would definitely like to include and like think about, like Angel City's mentioning, you know, those resources that you're able to maybe at least just have an option for some of our athletes out there. Like if you do need something to come to dance or you do need something to come to basketball, here are some resources you can check out. So that is definitely something I'd like to do some more research in and offer to our community as well.
Well, and actually it's an important thing to point out that there are not every sport is super expensive to adapt, and that's a really key thing to mention, that there are still a lot of both team and individual sports that people can do relatively inexpensively. You mentioned dance, that's a great one. Swimming, you can organize a volleyball game with relatively little equipment. So there's definitely some good options out there. I wouldn't want to discourage anybody thinking it's too expensive, because there's lots of things that people can still do. Yeah. So let's, you know, I don't want to also dwell on barriers at all, because of course programs like the ones you've been working at have had such a positive impact on so many lives, and I want to just hear about some of your observations as far as the positive outcomes that you might have seen.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest things about Keene is that the services are free. So there's never a cost to the athlete, to the family. Right now, of course, it's all virtual format, so you can just show up to our Zoom room, the Keene Zoom room we like to call it, and participate in whatever we got going on, you know. And we've expanded a little more too. It's like we'll do cooking stuff, and we'll do, you know, Disney workouts and dance stuff, and so there's a wide variety. And I just feel like you can just tell our kids are. I'll log in 10 minutes before, you know, to set up, and there are people in the waiting room. Like they're so excited to get in there, and they're so excited to see their friends, and just, you know, you can just feel the energy. And really looking forward to getting back to in person and offering some different opportunities like ropes courses, and, you know, there's a magical playground in San Jose, I think, and, you know, getting our kids out there to experience some of those things that have been missing through this pandemic lately. But they're just super excited, and it definitely is exciting.
So I have to know, because as a parent of young kids, I can tell you it's very hard to get them excited about things on Zoom, period.
Yeah.
What was there anything you did that really worked virtually that people were super jazzed about, and was something that you thought was a bit of a virtual game changer?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think initially it was kind of the same programs we had going on during the summer. It was like, you know, a Zumba and, you know, a jazzercise, I think, and it was kind of week after week. So what I tried to do was just to mix it up, to throw in like random things. You know, we were doing some line dancing, and, you know, the Disney workouts was something different. So just trying to definitely keep it mixed and not so the same, because I know people are, especially going on to Zoom, it's like it's the same thing, we want something different. So trying to mix it up a lot, and then just figuring out our formula. It's kind of like putting on a play. You know, we have our question of the day we ask you with, we're doing our program, and then we're ending it, and you're telling me what you're proud of. So kind of figuring out like a formula has worked the best, and I think that's what has kept some of our athletes coming back.
Awesome. Eric?
I'm really smiling because that's really cool. The excitement over Zoom is so rare that I'm just I want to join. I may join one of your sessions just to be a part of it.
Yes, please do. Please do.
And plus, learning how to cook would probably help. like I'm lucky enough to have known and been associated with Angel City for a number of years. I may not have been like in the position I am now, but I would come in and coach a couple of their clinics every couple of years at the Angel City Games, and I got the opportunity to see these kids like grow up and get to know their family over the years, and get to see their goals and dreams change, because Angel City Games is such a unique experience, because it's open to all ages, all experience levels. And so you get to see these kids that are brand new, like either newly hurt or new to adaptive sports, show up, and there's like hundreds of people with disabilities just taking over UCLA. And it's and then like when it comes to the competition, they get to see Paralympians race, they get to see Paralympians swim or play basketball or play with them and get to meet them. And just watching their confidence level over the course of 4 days go from the super quiet kid that's not really that barely talked during the clinic to when I'm saying goodbye on Sunday, they're making me laugh out loud, and they're like constantly talking, and they're way more comfortable. Those experiences are I'm never gonna forget, and it's things that I think about and I'm extremely thankful for. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm like tearing up over here. Yeah.
What about you, Brittany? Any outcomes you want to talk about? Something special from your time?
So I haven't actually been able to work with any kids yet at my organization, although we are starting next month and I can't wait. I know, I'm so excited. And we just started having crews come back to the boathouse within the last few weeks. So I can tell the energy is up around the boathouse. Everybody's super excited to be back. The staff is happy to have people back. So in terms of personal experience, I haven't had any yet during my service term, but the energy is up, and I'm very much looking forward to finally getting some of these programs started in the next few weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, I think as far as the online programming, we've definitely learned a lot about what it takes to get people engaged. We had some success in sending kind of workout kits to home and having kind of a sort of more of an interactive experience, as well as engaging Strava and introducing a competitive element to it. But nothing does replace that in-person experience. And we at Move United, we have a signature event called the Hartford Ski Spectacular each year in Breckenridge, Colorado. And one of the although it's predominantly a ski event, we're at a mountain, the moments that really bring home to me how important that community is when we're on the dance floor. You mentioned dancing, Sabrina. There's nothing like that. For just letting people to let their hair down and go wild and just be together as a community and not have any inhibitions. It's really wonderful. If you're looking for a good online class, Rumba with Tina out of Bay Area outdoor recreation programming is a great one to check out as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we have her name is Shauna. She's a certified Zumba instructor now. She used to be an athlete in our program, and man, she works us real good. She's coming back in the summer, and she does some amazing Zumba classes that they're really tough to keep up with, and she's just an awesome light of energy. So dance is something, it's really something.
And we've been part of some studies in the past and surveys. We know both statistically and anecdotally that adaptive sports has an impact that goes way beyond the physical health of being active that we can all benefit from. Did you see that in your experiences? Like, were there any kind of moments or outcomes that went beyond the kind of experience itself, as far as people's confidence or impact on their work or school life or anything like that? Anybody wants to chat about
Yeah.
the wider impact?
I think kind of like Eric mentioned, seeing like the personalities change, or the confidence, empowerment going up. I started last summer with some kids, and really quiet, and on Zoom it's hard too, but met them and they're quiet. They don't really say much. When it's their turn to talk, they kind of like, yeah, I'll pass. And now it's like they're carrying full conversations, and they're saying hi to their friends, they're jumping on, they're in chat, they're up and moving, which was something that's kind of hard too, because it is hard to participate in Zoom actively. And so you can kind of see walking around, not coming back. And it's like, hey, and so to kind of see those people start to do those things and engage a little more and have more conversation, more of a voice, that's been something that's really powerful to me. And I know it's making a connection more than just getting your body active.
Yeah. To build on that and like share my experiences with that, it's when one of the biggest downsides to the kind of segregation and the lack of knowledge of adaptive sports, it just means that a lot of disabled people and disabled children have a lack of socialization. They're not comfortable going up and talking to people, or just being like vocal and being part of society. And definitely one of the biggest things that I strive for, like day one, whenever I'm coaching, whether it's a clinic or my team, is like we're pulling them away from their parents and everyone, and we're a group, we're a team, we're all talking, we're engaging, and then that builds even it tenfold when they're introduced to their high school teams. The first kid I got into his high school team, I'll just say his name is Sean. He's a great kid, one of my first athletes, and he joined his senior year, and it was so cool to see him go from the quiet kid that would pretty much only talk to me the first day of practice, to like 4 weeks later he's walking in with a group of 5 people, and some girl is pulling his chair, and just watching that like people rallying around his races and stuff, and just that openness of him saying like he was no longer eating lunch in his classroom, he was eating lunch in the cafeteria and things like that. Those experiences really highlight the importance of everything and the inclusiveness and the power that adaptive sports has for these kids outside of sport.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of sport, is it really teaches and enhances those life skills that's really going to go way beyond adolescence. It's going to help them get a boost on their introduction to college resume, on their application, and it's going to be a nice resume booster, and maybe help them distinguish them between another candidate when it comes time to find a job. So really, sport is just so beautiful in that it teaches these life skills that goes way beyond the playing field or the court or the river, whatever the field may be.
Yeah, I think I love that Werner Myers quote. It's one thing being invited to the party, but it's another being asked to dance, right? So true inclusion for many kids, of course, goes beyond just being present physically in a school or a club, or it's around, like going back to the beginning of the conversation, we were talking about awareness and having other kids feel comfortable enough, and then that kid gets invited to the birthday party, and the friends, like you were describing, are feeling comfortable enough that everybody's just acting as friends, and there's those barriers are kind of removed. So we're not there yet. Are you hearing anything else from kids that you've interacted with that they wish that we were working on that we're not? What other things? We've all got work to do. So what's next on my challenges?
Yeah, I think personally, I'm still learning the best way to, because I do a lot of social media and newsletter work for the organization. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to make this material accessible to everybody, and so that everybody can see it. And then how do we go beyond that and reach those people who maybe aren't on the internet right now during these times. So having those accessibility challenges, definitely something that I'm focusing on, and you know, I want to do some more research in.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Sounds like we're in very similar projects.
Yeah.
And we should definitely talk more.
Yes.
Yeah, it's making those materials, like you said, accessible. Because I know the hardest thing about the beginning of these clubs or joining this community is lack of knowledge. And then from a coaching standpoint, it's like, what do I do? Having done it myself and talked to a lot of coaches, there's a lot of knowledge spread word of mouth that it makes it exceedingly complicated and hard to begin. And it takes a really special, dedicated person to do that. So to have these things prepared and out there and circulating, hopefully these clubs and stuff can pop up all over with minimal effort. And then like I've seen, and then once the club is there, it spreads to the schools. And then once it's in the schools, it's normal and it's no big deal. And those barriers are broken down, and it's not a special event, it's just an event.
Right.
And what lessons would you say that young people in America can learn from adaptive sports and the athletes that participate in adaptive sports that's unique? I think there's just that adapt and overcome mindset of that grit and determination that we see to get better is something that we're very familiar with. I mean, was that your observation, or what would we share with other kids that we've learned in our roles?
I would say an athlete's an athlete. It doesn't matter. Like they're doing the same thing. Like an adaptive athlete's doing the same thing as a an able-bodied athlete. They're going out there, they're working, they're hurting just as much as you are. There's nothing more impactful or inspirational about what they're doing. And my biggest advice to them is, like, if you're curious, ask questions. The taboo of not asking about disability, not like talking to people, I think hopefully will go away soon. Because I think just asking questions, sharing knowledge, getting comfortable with it, go for it. You're not going to embarrass yourself or them.
Yeah, being measured about how we congratulate athletes, that don't overly reward or anything, just treat everybody the same. It's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I also have been we're doing some further research on this space as well, but I think we're learning that sharing with the world of that athletes with disabilities are as, like, to your point, Eric, as motivated and hardworking as everyone else. I think that's something that a lot of people don't know about. Is there anything else that the impact that adaptive sports has that they can have that other people wouldn't guess or know about, or anything else you can think of?
Like impact for the community as a whole. Is that what you're asking? Yeah,
I think either the impact that adaptive sports can have on people with disabilities that people without a disability wouldn't guess, either individually or as a community.
Okay, yeah. I would say, like we said multiple times, the confidence, the being comfortable with your body, but also like being more ambitious. I think because a lot of we're all athletes here, and we know that you learn a lot about drive and ambition and striving and setting goals and achieving those goals and setting new goals through sport. And I think for the community as a whole, instilling that mentality in people in general, including people with disabilities, I think that's the biggest takeaway from adaptive sports and how that can improve a lot of things. Because if we get more people with and without disabilities to set goals, achieve goals, and fight to achieve those goals, I think a lot of current issues we're having in and outside of sport will be a lot lessened, because there'll be a lot more just motivation and drive behind everything else.
Yeah, and I think often there's a misconception as well that the what it takes to include athletes with disabilities, that you do need a ton of specialized equipment and you need to be highly trained. I think a coach is a coach, and most coaches are pretty used to adapting their skills and their ability, you know, their style for different athletes of different, you know, everybody's physical strengths and weaknesses, right? So this is in a way very, very similar, and that we just need coaches that have an open mind to learn a little bit of information and figure it out, you know. So I think that's something that we just want to share with the community, is most clubs and organizations just be open to the idea and welcome people and talk to people as an individual about what they might need to be successful.
But and if I can add like one last thing onto that, from a coach to coaches, if you're a coach listening to this, feel free to mess up. It's fine. You're not going to break them. They're not. If you're dealing with an athlete with a disability, you do something, it doesn't work. Cool. I'll think about it and I'll try it again. I'll try something new tomorrow. It's completely fine to mess up. You don't need to have the perfect game plan before starting.
That is a great message to end on right there. I think that that's really good advice, and something we do want everyone to hear and take away is it's okay to mess up and just, you know, be human.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, it's been really a pleasure to chat with you, Sabrina, Eric, and Brittany, and thanks for sharing your experiences with the AmeriCorps VISTA program. It's been great to learn about all of the fantastic work you've been doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, so much. We really appreciate the conversation. It was really great to listen into. Thank you all for listening in today, and be sure to tune in next month for our next VISTA Table Talk.